just to shed a little bit more light about what's going on out there. You hear some about Connecticut Food Share, who's really the wholesaler. They're the food bank in the state of Connecticut. Catholic Charities, and I'm the executive director of Catholic Charities. We're the largest provider of food resources around the county. So while there may be some players who provide more in one area or another around the county, we're the largest provider of food. So Connecticut Food Share is the wholesaler. We're the retailer. And most people around the county don't really understand what's really going on and how much of a crisis this really is today. Just the logistics of how SNAP or food stamps works. At the beginning of every month, people get an allocation on their card. Let's say you're a family of 4 and you get $200 per month that you can use to buy food. That goes on your card. The last time that happened was October 1st. They got money on their card and they use that money for a lot of October to buy food. I think we all know $200 worth of food, you can spend that in a day in the grocery store. So towards the end of the month, we always see a huge influx of people needing food. And again, these are families, these are elderly. 75% of the people who are on SNAP are children or elderly. So by the end of the month, they run out of food resources. And then this month, when November 1st hits, because of the government shutdown, nothing comes onto their card. So there's so many families out there in our community who have to make a decision between paying rent and feeding their family. So let me paint the picture a little bit of what this looks like. Now, we run the Thomas Merton Center in Bridgeport, 3 to 4 miles from here on the west side of Bridgeport. We run the largest food pantry in Bridgeport. On a typical day at our food pantry, we'll serve 30 or 40 families a day. Yesterday at Thomas Merton Center, we served 110 families. I showed up there yesterday morning. We opened at 10 a.m. There was a line around the block with 50 families or so an hour before we opened. And it's just so sad and heartbreaking to see the people waiting in line for food. Of course, yesterday was election day, so kids weren't in school. So there's a tremendous number of moms and families with their young kids in tow. Of course, a lot of these families who struggle to make ends meet, their kids are home, they're working, but they had to be off yesterday to take care of their kids and try to find food. The images on the faces of all these individuals is what I'd really love to convey. To see families in our community struggling to find access to food. Mothers taking their day off from work. Another mom with an autistic son who clearly was off from work that day. Her son had a lot of trouble staying still while waiting in the line for that period of time. We had elderly people in walkers and canes. This disabled man with his leg amputated below his knee. One individual whose face is seared in my brain. This young guy, Diego, came up to me. Cutest young 10-year-old kid. He said, "Hey, mister, would it be possible to get a chair to come out here to help my grandmother?" He said, "My grandmother and I walked a long way to get here today, and she has a really hard time standing for long periods of time." But it's unconscionable in this day and age that people have to wait in line for food and have to be concerned that they won't be able to feed their families. We all have jobs where there's pressure and things that we all worry about, but there's no greater pressure in life than having a family and not knowing if you can feed your kids. And I have to decide, do I pay my rent today or do I get food? And it's all because our legislators on both sides cannot come to an agreement. And again, the need is great out there. Most people don't have any impact from the government shutdown, but the poorest of the poor are really hurting right now. The best way to help us is with donations. Because of the bulk purchasing that we do around the county, we can purchase wholesale as opposed to purchasing retail. Again, with all these people that have been coming into our food pantry every day, we're wiped out. Connecticut Food Share is trying to get us some more supplies, but there's no way they can keep up with it. I have to thank all of our volunteers and many donors who have stepped up to help, but there's no way that we can do everything that the federal government was doing in terms of funding these programs. So it is a crisis right now. And any way that any of you out there can help us with donations and support or food drives would be incredibly appreciated. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, Senator, for organizing this.